The super predator thing has been used on Hillary a few times now, and it was brought up again yesterday, and Bernie attacked her, saying it was a racist term. We also saw Bill Clinton rip into a Black Lives Matter protester last week over the same thing, and at the same time we saw that bizarre, cringy Hillary Bill de Blasio colored people time skit it was brutal to watch. But
who did that? Who did that? That was the dumbest idea. I mean, who thought that was going to be great?
That was just bizarre. But why isn't the fact that, Hillary and Bill are kind of old, Southern, somewhat out of touch, people a bigger issue in this race, especially now, especially among the black vote, Josh?
Well, at the Chelsea Clinton event, that was here in Pittsburgh, this week, same day as the Trump event, actually, it was at the Hillary organizing offices in Pittsburgh, which is in East Liberty, which is a very black part of town. So there were a lot of supporters there that I was talking to, and I brought this up. And the one woman who said she supported Obama in 2008, and now she is a vehement Hillary supporter. And she said the reason is because, she said that black people, at least of her generation and in her circle, understood that a lot of what Bill Clinton was saying, and a lot of the stuff he had to do back then, like in the 90s with the crime bill, that, one, there really was a significant problem, and people wanted something to be done. No one really saw, well, not that no one saw, but, most people were willing to look past the bad things that were likely to happen if this bill passed, if just for God's sake something was done. The other thing she said is that she understood that, watching Reagan win and watching Bush win, and growing up in the 70s, that they had to say, like, what Clinton had to say was, like the sister soldier thing and all that, was pivoting to the center of the country towards the right so that they could get elected. She said that, at least people in her family always knew that, or believed that the Clintons had their back regardless of what they said. And she said she thinks that's why Hillary has had so much success so far in the race. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't actually know on like a larger scale. But I do think that what I find interesting is that they anticipated this problem. I mean, before I think Hillary Clinton even announced her candidacy, Bill Clinton gave a speech apologizing for the crime bill. Like, he knew that was going to be a big fucking deal this year. And with his altercation with the Black Lives Matter supporter, though, I mean, that's just Bill Clinton being Bill Clinton. I mean, I know some Black Lives Matter supporters who are like, I mean, he's all right. Like, they're willing to forgive him that because of just whatever the je ne sais quoi that makes Bill Clinton likable when he's really not all that likable. Unfortunately for Hillary, she does not have that same quality.
For this generation, he does come off sort of like a crickety old Southern man, and if you rub him the wrong way, he'll snap at you too.
Yeah.
Peter, where do you think that attitude comes from, that, even though they're saying all this stuff that we would never accept from another politician, they still mean well? No other politician gets that kind of benefit of the doubt.
It amazes me. And it's not just the way that African Americans look at it. I mean, no other politician could have come close to surviving the sex scandal that should have taken Bill Clinton down. Lots of people, lots of politicians, big and small, have been decimated by far less. A photo, an affair, a hint of something like that. I mean, we don't need to recount in graphic detail.
And it was his fourth one, Peter. Don't forget that. It was the fourth time a woman came out with some allegations about
the fourth-time
Clintonian shenanigans. Right.
And the same thing with Hillary. I mean, both of the Clintons have had, scandal after scandal after scandal that would have destroyed any other candidate. One of them would have taken them apart. And yet the Clintons seem to have some kind of special magic pass on this. It remains absolutely beyond my ability to understand. Going back to the African-American vote, I mean, I had one conversation this week which offered a little bit of an insight, and that was, in fact, that some African-American voters seem to respond well to what Hillary is doing, attaching herself to Barack Obama. I mean, even though he hasn't done shit for the African American community, and he's ruled whiter than white, I mean, in every respect, he still, of course, is a very popular symbol, if nothing more, than among the black community. And Hillary, positioning herself as his heir, actually picks things up. I think one of the things that'll be interesting to watch in the New York primary, looking ahead, particularly the general election, is what kind of turnout we see from the African American community, particularly here in the city, where you're a lot of the New York City, where a lot of the African American community tends to fall on the lower end of the economic spectrum, as opposed to in the South, where I think we could say it's more evenly distributed. So keep an eye on the turnout. I think would be interesting, wondering about how much support Hillary is going to have. Because remember, there's two steps. You got to get the people to want to vote for you, and then you got to get them to show up and actually vote.
You also got to keep
build on Peter's point there.
Turnout here in New York, it's a big
right. The beard vote. To build on Peter's point, I did a piece for Latest today about the sort of odd line of attack, I think, for Sanders to have chosen to pursue towards the end of the debate there, in which he tries to paint Hillary Clinton's wins in the South as being because she's conservative and they're conservative. The reason that I find that really odd is that, in talking about the people who voted for Hillary Clinton, which was black Democratic Southerners, to say that they're conservative is really just, in a word, dumb. Now, on some social issues, the church things like, trans folks in the bathroom and gay marriage and abortion, you're going to find a little pushback. But those aren't the issues that they vote on. That voting bloc tends to focus on economic issues and things of that nature. And on that level, they're incredible. They're as progressive as anyone else. In fact, the civil rights achievements that Bernie Sanders loves to talk about, how he fought for that. I mean, none of that would have happened if not for Southern black Democrats. So I really think I'd be surprised if that ends up playing in his favor.
Also,
just because
this is the guy whose biggest wins have come in some of the most conservative states like Utah and Wyoming and Idaho. So it's kind of
Alaska.
It's kind of still lambast Mississippi and Alabama when you're sweeping up in North Dakota.
I mean, I get he's trying to downplay Hillary's early start out of the gate and try to say that all the momentum and the will of the electorate is coming towards him. But it's another, I think, sort of sign of how, and maybe this is just because he's a guy who legitimately doesn't think in these terms, but it just seems like that is the wrong appeal to make to the black vote demographic down there, and also the white Southerners who didn't leave with the Dixiecrats. I mean, those guys are the unicorns down there, really. It just seems weird to try to put them down in order to gain, victories now, especially in an election where if the Republicans blow up their convention like they're going to, it seems like a lot of red states might be in play for the Democrats.
One thing that Bernie, again, talking about kind of a clumsiness sometimes on his part, a lot of his economic agenda, if it were to pass more or less as he proposed it, is going to benefit lower economic group people a lot more strongly than it's going to affect others. I mean, if you're talking about raising the minimum wage, that's not going to make me richer. But it is going to make people who are trying to make a living on a minimum wage do better. And the same thing for healthcare and college opportunity. I think, Bernie doesn't do a strong enough job when he talks to lower income communities, which in New York tend to be people of color, of saying, this is going to really help you. This is going to be a direct benefit to you that Hillary is not supporting. Please keep that in mind. I think it's an opportunity he squandered. He doesn't seem to be as prepped and as organized as he should be at this point in the campaign.